I'm not sure when I'm going to be offering Chinese again on this campus, but I'm going to be offering Chinese at Valencia in East Orlando this fall. We're going to have Chinese 1 in the fall and hopefully Chinese 2 in the spring. So they're actually helping me create the courses for their course catalog, so they'll be able to be up and running right away.
Just one class per semester? Like
For now.
For now.
Yeah, I'm going to have one section of Chinese 1, a section of Japanese 1, and then if one or the other of those fills up and it looks like we've got enough interest to have a second overflow class, then we would add a second section of one of them. But for now, they're not going to let me have 2 sections of both because that would be full-time status. And they're not ready to hire me full-time yet. They want to see how it goes first. So anyway, so let's go ahead and read through these. So this is 今日午前9時に学校で日本語を勉強します。午後12時に家に帰ります。午後5時に家で晩ご飯を食べます。Right. Okay. Any questions about that one? All the grammar is good. Okay. 5時ごろ Is that supposed to be okimasu? It almost looks like a soup. I don't know who wrote. Oh, this is.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Did I write
That's
it?
okay. O
Oh,
should
yeah,
look like
oh.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
When you let it go down that far, see how
I
it looks like a
realized that I
soup? Yeah. So just work on that for the future because
No, I wrote it
that,
right here.
yeah, that handwriting habit is a common one, but it's one that really confuses the reader. 8時に学校に行きます。午後11時に家に行きます。Well, if you're going to your house, instead of ikimasu, you would say 家に帰ります. Yeah, so change that to 帰ります. Okay, and just a note for the future, that amount of gap between the 2 halves of a kanji makes it look like you meant 2 kanji. You know, so it looks like you wrote Nichi and Tera instead of Ji. So you just want to try to make, they don't have to touch, but they ought to be so close they're almost touching. Does that make sense? You know, if you get it to, see this is better. It's a little easier to tell you meant these to be all one thing, but that much of a gap is really confusing to a reader that might not know which word you meant. Okay? So, 毎日朝6時半に起きます。12時頃に昼ご飯を食べます。午後7時に家で勉強します。Right. Any questions about that one? 毎日8時に学校へ行きます。Okay, which ed did you mean? Yeah, you meant the direction particle et, right? Not the one that means picture. Et by itself like that is actually the word for picture, like painting. Okay, so 毎日8時に学校へ行きます makes a lot more sense than written that way. Okay, 12時に昼ご飯を食べます。3時頃家に帰ります。Good. And notice that the ni is optional. He chose not to put it there. That's fine. Okay, because of the goro. That's what makes it optional.
Oh, so I didn't have to put.
You don't have to. It's fine the way you put it. The goro ni works fine, but it is optional because some people feel like the juniji, because that's a set time, it requires ni, but the goro makes it approximate. And so for some people, that's enough of wiggle room that they feel like ni sounds funny there.
Okay.
So that is one that even native speakers debate.
That's what I was asking. Does it go before or after the
It's-
order? Okay,
Yeah,
I was
well, if you're going to use it, it's after. But yeah, you can't do juniji ni goro. That just sounds weird.
Okay.
But yeah, you can leave the ni out or put it when you're doing goro. Okay. 午前8時に起きます。時々朝ごはんを食べます。 私は全然朝ご
I kind of misunderstood.
Okay. Yeah, you meant to say 朝ごはんを食べません, right?
Yes.
Okay. You just kind of left off the han part and the o. So you would insert gohan, okay, and then o, and then 食べません. Okay, makes sense? So 私は全然朝ごはんを食べません. Yeah, the han and gohan, if you were trying to do the kanji, it has the 食べる kanji as one half of it, but it's not the whole thing. Yeah, they're similar looking though. Okay, 私はよく読みます. Oh, you were trying to say that you often read manga?
Yeah.
Okay, manga is what part of the sentence? It's the object, right? So where does an object go in Japanese?
Before the verb.
Before the verb, right? So 私はよく manga, and then what particle does it need?
Oh.
O, yeah, so manga o is gonna go over there, and then yomimasu on the end. Because Japanese is what they call a subject, object, verb language. So you put the subject first, if you're gonna put it at all. It really ought to look more like that, because the subject is so often dropped. But the object always comes before the verb in Japanese. So, 私はよく漫画を読みます. 私は毎日飲みます. 水? Okay, again, we've got a couple of issues here. So, mizu is what?
Subject.
No, the object, yes. So where does mizu belong?
Before
Right, and it's going to take the same particle,
the, oh.
o, right. So mizu o is going to come over here. 私は毎日水を, and then this is the right kanji, but what's the pronunciation for to drink? Look, your eye probably skipped between two lines or something when you were writing it. Yes, nomu, which is right there. Yeah, so yeah, you skipped between those two. You wrote that, but then you came up to here for your conjugation. So nomu changes to nomimasu. Make sense? Okay, so 私は毎日水を飲みます。はい。And then 今日は俺の誕生日。Cool. And to finish out that sentence, we need
Yes.
des. はい。
Happy birthday.
はい。Does everybody know how to say that in Japanese? Happy birthday?
お誕生日おめでとう。
はい。お誕生日おめでとう。Do you guys know how to sing it in Japanese? お誕生日おめでとう. Just like that. 4 times. You ready? 1、2、3、4. お誕生日おめでとう。お誕生日おめでとう。お誕生日おめでとう。お誕生日おめでとう。
We so happy.
何歳ですか?
19歳です。
あ、そうですか. Okay. So, any questions about basic grammar structures? Okay. So do you understand better now
Yeah.
how the sentence structure works? You missed a couple of days when we were working on that a lot, so, and those audio
YouTube.
recordings are on YouTube, so yeah, if you haven't listened to them yet, that would be a good thing to do before the test. Okay, let's see. Let's look at 300 peiji in the textbook. 300 peiji. Oh, I'm not sure. Okay. Do we need to review our vocabulary first? How many people feel like we should do a vocab drill first? No, we're good on vocab? Okay, so Samgyaku Peiji is the kanji practice section. How many people have already done this as homework?
I'm working on it.
You're working on it still, okay. How about if we go ahead and do these together? So, let's see, there's 6 people. Okay, so I'm going to suggest we just read the top ones aloud and then read them in Japanese and then practice saying what they are in English. And then I'm going to have people actually come up to the board and write the ones for section B on the board. Okay, so we've got just enough people for one person to read the example and then everybody else to read an answer to one of these. So, so who wants to read the example?
I'll
Dozo.
do. Just chocolate.
Hi.
150 yen.
Hi. Okay, who wants to read Ichiban? Which way should we go? Millie or Ryan? Any preference? Yeah, Eddie-san goes on Ichiban. Hi, hankachi. Can you guess what that is?
Looks like a paper. Looks like a hanky.
Yeah, handkerchief, hankachi.
I don't know. Paper.
Yeah, well, they put dots in it to, I guess, indicate that it's something other than a piece of paper, but it's kind of hard to tell what you're
I
drawing.
should have folded.
Yeah, so hankachi and 600, yeah. はい、650円. Yeah, hankachi is something that Americans don't use that much, but in Japan, women always carry them, usually very pretty flowery ones, for like patting their face when they get sweaty so that they don't wipe off all their makeup. And also they keep it handy as something to wipe their hands on after using the restroom, because most public restrooms in Japan don't provide paper towels or those electric dryer things.
Really?
Yeah, so most women have a handkerchief that they carry with them everywhere, and you will see them take it out and like hold it in their teeth while they're washing their hands so that it's right there when they're ready to wipe their hands off. Men still often just use very plain white ones in Japan, but the women's ones are always like beautiful traditional designs or something. They look like, have you ever seen washi, the Japanese paper that's so gorgeous, the handmade paper with all kinds of like flowers and stuff on it? They look like those. They've got gorgeous designs usually. Like origami paper or something. Yeah, a lot of, and some of them are cute too. They have like kid ones that have like cutesy cartoony characters on them and stuff. Yeah, so some of them are kawaii, and some of them are really beautiful. Okay, so Uru-san, 2番.
Sensu,
Yeah, sensu. Can you guess from the picture what sensu means?
fan.
A fan, a folding fan, yeah. And the price for that thing is? Sen. Sen.
1800.
N. The last kanji is N, as in the currency. Okay, so sen 800 yen, which means,
8,000, or 1,800.
that's right, 1,800. We forgot to talk about what 650 yen means, didn't we? That translates
Yeah.
to how much?
Oh, 650.
Yeah, 650. Okay. Yeah, I have no idea if those prices still work. They sound like fairly accurate prices for many years ago when I lived in Japan. But
It's more expensive or more cheaper?
prices always go up.
Okay.
I can't imagine things getting less expensive in Japan. じゃあ、キミさん、3番お願いします。
着物
はい。
71万4000円。
はい。So that one translates to,
714,000.
there you go. 714,000. Again, if you look, if you write it out, what was it? 71万, right? And then 4,000? 4,000. So the 4,000, you know, is 4,000, right? That's the easy part to figure out, right? And then 71 is 71. So there you go. 714,000. That's a whole lot of yen. And then if you want to have some idea of how much that translates to in dollars, a very easy way to translate it that's not entirely accurate at today's exchange rate, but it's still an approximation. Just get rid of the last two decimal places. And so 7,000-ish is probably the US price. So that's a silk kimono.
Why is clothing that expensive?
Well,
Oh,
we're
no,
talking
kimono.
silk kimono here. And they're showing it with the obi and all the accessories, so that's probably pretty accurate.
Is it?
Kimono can be really expensive. I got one second hand in 1990. Second hand, $500. Yeah, but that's getting it used.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you buy it brand new from the department store, ouch. Yeah,
I would love to have one.
yeah, they're gorgeous, but they're also a lot of work to get in and out of, and a lot of like layers, and then wearing them, you have to be very proper and perfect posture, otherwise it just, you know, doesn't look right.
I had the Chinese dress, the Jihao.
Yeah, that's a lot easier to get into.
Yeah.
Unless you've gained 3 ounces since the last time you had it made, because it's so unforgiving.
They're very form-fitting.
Yeah, they're very form-fitting. I have T-Pal that tell the story of my size, because I cannot wear the one that I had made when I was 19. That one hasn't fit for a really long time, because when I was 19, I was built like that. Not anymore. Yeah, so, yeah, that one's put away in storage so that someday when my daughter's around 19, maybe it'll fit her. Yeah, might fit her sooner because she's gonna be taller than me, I think. Yeah,
How old is your daughter?
she's 3,
Oh.
but she's tall for her age already, and they're predicting that she's probably gonna be like 5'8" or 5'10".
It's like my niece. My niece is like, she's only 5 and she's like this.
Wow, yeah. Yeah, my
Your dad-
son, they're predicting 6 foot, 6'2". So they're both gonna tower over us. So anyway, okay, so Yonban. Okay, so Naya-san, you get to tell us about the TV. I like the fact that they updated their TV picture. The
Oh,
old
the
edition
flat
had
TV.
an old vacuum tube style.
Junie Man San Sen En.
Hi. So, what's that translate to?
I want to say 12,300.
Well, look at it again. Juniman. Okay, let's write it out. And then work it backwards. Juniman San Zen En, right? So working backwards always works better. So this to that symbol, okay? Sanzen is how much?
3,000.
3,000, right? Juni man, so Juni is
12.
12, so you put the 12 right there. So
Oh, okay.
123,000 yen,
Okay.
okay? And again, you put the dot here, and that's about a $1,000 TV. That must be a really big screen TV, right? That's the one area where prices may have come down. Because prices have come down on technology, right? So a big flat screen like that may not cost $1,000 in Japan anymore. Maybe cheaper than that.
Oh, it's like the really big one.
Yeah. Okay, so Ryan-san, it's your turn. So what are we
Yeah.
buying here? Yeah.
3,900万円。
Okay, and that is a very typical modern Japanese home. So here, let's figure out this price. So Sanzen, right? 900万. Okay. So when we figure this one out, so again, we start from the back. So man, we know is
10,000.
10,000, right? Hyakuman makes it,
100,000.
no. Juman would be, so we,
Oh, it's a million?
yeah. So the 10,000 mark is here. The Juman mark would be here, right? Hyaku, so the 9 is going to go here, isn't it? Okay. And then Sanzen, so that's going to be the 39 million yen for a house. Yeah, and again, if you want to put it in some
It's like
approximation of dollars, so,
almost 400,000.
so, yeah, 400,000. That, for a small two-story house, that sounds about right, honestly. Housing is expensive in Japan, really expensive. Just think about it this way. The land mass is approximately the size of California. The population is approximately half of the entire US population. Just imagine cramming half of the people of the entire United States into California and how crowded it would be. California is crowded enough, and they don't have anywhere near half the population of the United States, right? And a good proportion of the land in Japan is not very habitable. I mean, it's volcanic mountains, right? So, you know, you can't really live at the top of an 8,000-foot peak, right? So there are parts of Japan that aren't even habitable. Okay, so next we've got the challenging ones. Write the following prices in kanji. So
Can we do those on the board?
that's what I was just about to suggest.
Oh,
Yes,
sorry.
let's. So I'm gonna suggest that the first couple that are so easy get combined. We've only got 6 people in here, and there are 9 of these. So let's have one person do numbers 1 and 2. You want those two? Let's have one person do numbers 3 and 4. You want those two? Okay. And then let's have one person do 4 and 5. Okay, who wants to do numbers 4 and 5? Okay. Well, Mina-san? Okay, and then Ellie, number 6.
Okay.
And Wheel number 7, oh, we're still gonna be short one, so Carly, can you do 6 and 7? Okay. Will number 8 and Ryan number 9. I think that gets everybody. So, just come on up whenever you're ready, and please label which ones you're doing so that we can keep track of what's what.
Which one do you do?
Feel free to
Thought it was
use
doing 3.
all 3 of the boards.
Yeah, you can do 3 if you want, and then I'll do 4. Or we'll do 1 if you say. We'll do 4. We'll do it. She's doing 3 and 4.
Right,
And
yeah, she's doing 1 and 2, you're doing 3 and 4.
Does that mean I'm doing 5 and 6? 'Cause you
I
said-
think so. Did I count wrong?
You said
Okay.
4 and 5.
I'm sorry, I counted wrong. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and then 7, 8, 9. Sorry, I counted wrong at some point.
Wait, why am I 9?
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Will's got 8 and Ryan's got 9. Okay. Yeah, I thought I was doing something wrong and I couldn't figure out what. I didn't realize that I counted one of them twice. Okay, remember to use your N kanji as well for these prices. We're writing them in kanji. That's the yen symbol. I meant the yen kanji.
Oh, the kanji.
Yeah. Where'd the eraser go?
That's okay, I got it. The kanji.
Writing the kanji for yen is the equivalent of spelling out the word dollars, whereas writing the little Y symbol with the 2 lines on it is the equivalent of writing the dollar sign. So if you're doing the price in digits, usually they use the little Y symbol. But if you're doing the price in kanji, you use the kanji for yen also. It's the equivalent of writing out the price in words versus writing the digits. There you go. Okay. You got the 2 easy ones.
I needed the 2 easy ones.
Okay, where are we? Okay. Don't do this twice when it's all part of the mon thing, so. Yeah, so some definitely need you,
We have 2, roughly 1. Is this right?
Looks right to me.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna put the digits up here so we've got a point of comparison. answers. Let's see, is that all in Chinese? Yep, we've got them all, and they all look right. Okay, so we now know how to deal with prices ranging from little stuff in the 100 store all the way up to trying to buy a house or a car in Japan. At least a small house.
That would be a real,
Yeah. I mean, if you want a Japanese mansion, you're going to be paying more than that. But yeah, what's funny is the word mansion in Japanese does not mean a humongous, luxurious home. It means an apartment. Mansion is an apartment like in a high-rise, usually. Yeah, and yeah, the typical Japanese mansion in Tokyo is maybe like the size of 2 of this classroom, divided into, you know, a couple of bedrooms, a kitchen, a dining room, a living room. It's a fairly nice-sized house by Japanese standards, but it's not a mansion the way English means it.
yeah.
But yeah, you can pay a whole lot of money for a mansion in Japanese. The price might be like a mansion in America, even if the size isn't. Okay, so let's look now at Mainichi no seikatsu. Okay. Mainichi no seikatsu is 301 page. And so first of all, what is mainichi?
Every day.
Every day. And let's see, they don't actually teach you the word seikatsu in this chapter, but can anybody guess from the context?
Routine.
Very close, yeah. Seikatsu is like lifestyle, so everyday life. Mainichi no seikatsu. Okay. So let's take turns reading and translating the sentences in this little thing. So who wants to read the first sentence out loud for us? Hi, dozo.
Right here, right?
Yeah, first sentence, yeah.
私は毎日7時に起きます。
Hi, which translates to?
I get up at 7. Right?
Right, I get up at 7, how often?
Every day.
Every day, excellent. Okay, Kimi-san, can you read the next line? Uchi de.
Sorry. There's, sa,
Asa.
asagohan, tatemasu.
はい。うちで朝ごはんを食べます。Which translates to? What's uchi?
Uchi is like home house.
Yes, home. So uchi de. What's asa gohan?
Is breakfast.
Breakfast, yes. Asa gohan, breakfast, morning meal. Okay, and then tabemasu means to eat. So uchi de asa gohan o tabemasu means
Ate breakfast at home.
I eat breakfast when? At, or where rather? At
At home.
At home, exactly. Okay, so does everybody see how the structure works there? Uchi de asa gohan o tabemasu. Who's the subject of the sentence? The person's,
The speaker.
the speaker, yeah. That's just implied because they already said watashi wa in the previous sentence. So as long as they're not changing subjects, they don't have to keep restating watashi wa, watashi wa, watashi wa at the beginning of every sentence. So until they decide to change and talk about somebody else, the rest of these sentences don't necessarily need a subject.
If they did that, would it be arrogant or something?
It sounds funny in Japanese, yeah. It sounds like you're just only thinking about yourself. Watashi wa, watashi wa, watashi wa, watashi wa. It just, yeah, it sounds conceited. Yeah, it's like the whole world is all about me, you know. So, Ryan-san, next sentence, please.
8時に
はい、
大学へ行きます。
はい. Which means
At 8 o'clock I went to school.
I
Went to college.
go to the college. Ikimasu is
So,
future tense or simple present tense. So it's either I will go to the college or I go habitually. And since we already established that this is about mainichi, again, they don't necessarily need to keep restating the time if it applies to everything. So they already said mainichi shishiji ni okimasu, uchi de asa gohan o tabemasu. The mainichi is still implied there because they haven't said anything to change it. And hachiji ni daigaku e ikimasu. The mainichi is still implied there. So we're talking about every morning I wake up at 6, I eat breakfast at home, I go to school, I go to the college at 8. Right. Okay. どうぞ。
9時に日本語を勉強します。
はい。
I study Japanese language at 9.
はい。Okay.
12時半に大学で昼ご飯を食べます。
はい。
I eat my lunch at the college at
12時半。
12.
12:30, there you go. So I eat lunch at the college at 12:30, yes. Do you notice how, except for the subject, the sentence flows best if you translate from the period and work backwards? Did anybody notice that? You know, the subject is implied, so you just put that in first because English needs it. I eat is tabemasu, right? Then work backwards. What do you eat? Lunch. Hirogohan. Where? At college. When? At 12:30. Isn't that amazing how that works? That is a really good tool that you can use in both directions. If you're translating a Japanese sentence into English or trying to figure out how to say something in Japanese when you've got the ideas down in English, either direction. If you establish whatever the subject is first, get that down on paper if you need it, and then jump to the end of the sentence and work your way backwards. The rest of the sentence usually flows well if you work it in reverse order like that. Okay? That works probably 90% of the time. じゃあ、Uro-san, 次. Let's do the next sentence.
時々コーヒーを飲みます。
はい. Which means?
Sometimes I drink coffee.
Yes, sometimes I drink coffee. So, and since they didn't add any other time phrase in there other than the okidoki, it sort of implies that maybe that's something she would have with the lunch, she or he. We don't know. I guess this says find out about his schedule. So I guess this is supposed to be a guy. It doesn't really have any gender markings in it anywhere, so it could be either. Right, so tokidoki kohi o nomimasu. Okay, じゃあ、Himi-san, you get one more sentence.
Okay. 4時に図書館 図書館で、はい。
は hon o, right?
O,
yomimasu. Right. So 4時に図書館で本を読みます。Which means
at 4 o'clock,
what's 図書館?
図書館 is,
We have one on campus. There's also public ones all over town.
library.
Yeah. Okay, and what does this person do at the library? 図書館で what's a hon?
That's a book.
Yes.
So
So
reads.
hon o yomimasu. Yes. So this person reads books
In the library.
and the library at
4.
4 o'clock. Yes. So once again, except for the subject, working backwards from the period works very nicely, doesn't it? I read books at the library, or in the library, however you want to put it in English, at 4 o'clock, right? So, Marianne-san, next little sentence here.
6時頃
Mhm.
家へ
はい。
帰ります。
はい。
I come back home.
Yeah, I return
I
home.
return home
Yeah.
at around 6.
Yes, I return home at around 6. はい。じゃあ、ライアンさん。
11時にテレビを見ます。
はい。
I watch TV at 10.
Yes, I watch TV at 10, and then, Juliana-san?
12時頃寝ます。
はい。
I go to sleep at around 12.
Yes. Sleep at around 12 midnight. Okay, any questions about the content there? So the little schedule should be really easy to fill in now because we already talked about what all of it means, right? Okay. So if you needed to write a little paragraph like that, would you all be able to do something like that about your own schedule?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. And a passage similar to that will be a reading comprehension section on your chapter test too. So, do you guys want a quick overview of what to expect on the chapter test?
Yeah, and the OPI.
Yeah, and the OPI, yes, and I've got OPI info for you guys too. Okay. Okay, so OPI info, I didn't get a chance to post it online, but I can let you guys. Do I have enough? Did I not? Okay, I think I've got enough copies of this to, okay, so was everybody in here the day we did this activity?
No.
If
Was
we
that
missed it.
Thursday? 'Cause I wasn't here.
Okay, you missed it, okay. Is there anybody else who needs a copy of this, or does everybody else have theirs?
No, everyone copied.
Yeah.
I know that's
Okay. Does anybody else need another copy of this?
Do we need it for what we
You don't
do
need
now?
it right this minute, but you, yeah. Because the reason I want you to have this is one piece of the OPI, so being able to ask people these kinds of questions and or answer these kinds of questions from your partner is going to be one part of your OPI, okay? Then the main other activities are going to be asking about when and where and how often your partner does or doesn't do various activities, and or inviting your partner to do things together. So this is like the sheet you're going to get on your OPI with advice about you know, I basically listed the kinds of time phrases, places, direct objects, and verbs available to you based on what we've learned thus far. And so you are free to talk about any of that kind of stuff in your OPI. Tell your partner about this stuff, ask them what they do, and they'll answer with what they do and then ask you another question, that kind of thing. Okay, so it's going to be hopefully a conversation about the kinds of things you guys frequently do. And you can use tokidoki, amari, zenzen, etc., etc. So you can ask somebody, for example, kohyo nomimasu ka? And depending on who's answering, they might say yoku nomimasu, or amari nomimasen, or zenzen nomimasen, or tokidoki nomimasu. Right? All those are different possible answers to kohyo nomimasu ka, right? Same thing for like zashi o yomimasu ka? Hai, yoku yomimasu. Ie, amari yomimasen. Things like that, right? So all of these are potential things. I'm giving you these to take home so you can practice with them. Okay? Practice being able to say all that kind of stuff. And practice being able to ask questions as well. So think about the kinds of questions you want to be able to ask your partner, and think about how you're going to answer the questions that your partner might ask. And it's a really good idea to get with some people from class and practice asking and answering each other out loud, not just thinking about it in your head. Also, if you want to bring a pen or a pencil and some blank paper, nothing written on it, after you get in here, you can write down like a little note, cheat sheet kind of thing, but no books, no pre-written anything. It has to be a completely blank sheet of paper before you walk in, and then when we sit down to actually do the OPI, if you want to make note of what your partner said so that you can remember how to answer it, or if you want to jot down a couple words you're afraid you're going to forget real quick before we get into it, you'll have that opportunity. But it has to be a completely blank sheet of paper before you walk in. Okay? Okay. So it's not a cheat sheet in the sense of actually copying stuff out of your book and bringing that in with you. It's just a blank sheet of paper, and then you can take notes while you're in the OPI. Make sense? Okay, so I wanted everybody to know that that's available to them. So the handouts are to help you study what's coming on the OPI. Okay. And you're certainly free to practice with one another in the language lab or wherever else you guys meet to practice. You're also free to practice with the level 2 people. If you can corner any of them and get them to practice with you, feel free. You know?
They have this like binder full of like chapter for lesson 3, like practice worksheets.
Mhm.
Like,
Those are, a lot of those are like old tests and quizzes that I no longer use. And
I've
one
also-
of my former students just got really ambitious one year and decided to like put them all together in a binder. I had just given her, here's a whole bunch of old copies of things that I just don't use anymore. Maybe students would like some of them, and she actually organized them for me and put them all in that binder so that people could have access to them when they want them. So feel free to take advantage of those. There's a lot of good practice
Yeah, I did some.
in those.
Perfect.
Okay, so test format is going to be very similar to what we've done before. Japanese sentences into English, English sentences into Japanese, Japanese questions that I want you to answer in Japanese. Use English to answer questions about the comprehension paragraph. You know, 'cause obviously I want The reason I want you to answer in English is because it would be way too easy to just find the relevant passage and copy it verbatim without actually understanding what it says. If you understand the way Japanese grammar works, and the question and answer is all in Japanese, it's very easy to just do copy and paste, basically, without any comprehension of what you actually read. So that's why the questions and answers are in English, because I want to see that you actually did comprehend the information being given in the paragraph. Okay, and then the listening part, instead of hiragana or katakana, this time the listening is going to be kanji. So when I say, for example, 150 yen, you're going to write 150 yen in kanji. Okay, and so it's going to be 1 point per kanji for phrases that could include number phrases, like telephone numbers or whatever. It could include prices, it could include times. Any word that we haven't already studied the kanji for, you can write out in hiragana for this part, but the kanji is kind of the main point, so there's going to be a lot of kanji in these phrases.
So it's going to be all like numbers, or are we going to be tested on that sheet that we had to print out too?
It's not going to be the radicals. It's going to be the kanji from this textbook, lesson 3.
Which would just be the numbers.
Just the numbers and o'clock,
And
G,
o'clock
and yen.
Yeah.
Okay? So it might be a phone number. That's still just numbers, right? With no in the center. And then it could be, like kuji han. You don't have to write the han in kanji because that's next chapter. Okay? But the kuji part would be in kanji. And han would be spelled out phonetically in hiragana. It could be something like 1,050 yen. It could be something like 5,700 man en. It could be a long one, it could be a short one, it could be some of everything. Other question?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
We don't have to do the katakana hiragana charts, right?
Right, no hiragana katakana charts this time. Although, yeah, there will be places where you might need to be able to do a word in katakana here or there, and obviously there's going to be hiragana all over the place. But no, at this point, you're kind of on your own. You really should have had the chart memorized by now because, it's a useful tool. If you don't have your chart memorized in order, it makes using the glossary at the back of this book a whole lot more challenging. If you have to look words up frequently in the back, you will find yourself wishing you had already memorized the chart if you haven't already. Okay, in terms of the listening content, so we've got number phrases using prices and times and such. We've got a section which is write the English meaning of the words or phrases you hear. So again, that's similar to the previous test, but the phrases are getting a little longer, more like full sentences now, and they are going to be phrases that use verbs, since we've got verbs now, right? So it's going to be, things like yoku kohi o nomimasu, or amari terebi o mimasen, things like that, okay? And then the final listening portion will be questions and answers, and there are more of them than we might have had in previous lessons. I don't remember how many Q&A were in previous listening portions, but this one there's 6 of them, because asking and answering questions with verbs is so much a central part of this chapter. So, yoku terebi o mimasu ka might be a question on there, and then you'll be answering, hai, yoku terebi o mimasu, or ie amari mimasen, things like that. Okay? Or if it's asking, mainichi asagohan o tabemasu ka, then one answer might be ie zenzen tabemasen. Another answer might be tokidoki asagohan o tabemasu, or hai, mainichi tabemasu. So I am looking for hai or ie at the front of your answer if it's a yes/no question. Okay.
Would be okay.
Is fine too instead of hai. Yeah. So, よく行きます. Or, いえ、あまり行きません. If the question was, for example, I don't know, 日本に行きますか? Do you go to Japan? はい、よく行きます. Yeah, I go lots of times. Or, あまり行きません. No, I don't go very often. You know. So, or, 喫茶店でケーキを食べますか? Do you eat cake at the coffee shop? はい、毎日食べます or あまり食べません or 全然食べません any of those kinds of answers, right? So just like in the OPI, there's going to be a lot of question and answer about those kinds of things. It's going to be in the listening comprehension and writing portion too, where you actually have to understand the question being asked and then give an intelligible answer in Japanese. And I am looking for full sentence answers, not just hai or ie. Okay? That's just, in a language class, just answering hai is kind of like cheating because that's too easy. You're not showing me whether or not you can actually apply the grammar in your own answers. So show me some grammar application, not just hai. Okay? So that's the whole chapter test. Okay, so kanji phrases you hear, English meanings of words or phrases you hear, and answering the questions in Japanese. Okay, and those are perhaps a little bit larger proportion of the test than some previous chapter tests, just because it's becoming more and more important for you guys to be able to communicate using the language, right? We've learned more stuff. You actually know how to say practical things now that you would use in real life. So I want to make sure you guys are understanding them when you hear them and knowing how to answer. Because, you know, that's going to be the kind of stuff that you want to actually use with real Japanese friends in Japan, or even on Skype.
So, this semester is going to be up to lesson 4.
Right, we're only going to finish through lesson 4 this semester, but my hope is that we're doing a thorough job. You know, I used to try to cram in more chapters, but we didn't have as much time to get really comfortable with the material and really use it a lot. So I'm hoping that this way we're getting more practical practice, speaking it, listening to it, reading it, writing it, and I hope that that means that going forward you'll feel more comfortable with doing things like the OPI when it overflows into real life. And we've still got a few minutes to practice, right? We finish at 11:05, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's do a little bit of OPI style practice. Grab a partner and do some Q&A with somebody. So who's going to come forward and find somebody to talk to? Okay, yeah, you can leave your stuff there, you don't have to move everything, you can just bring your book.
You go first. Oh, okay.
Oh,
Do you want to like ask more? You want to invite or do you want to? You can ask me first. Okay.
okay, you can. That's fine, either way.
Yeah.
Make suggestions, like,
Amari shimasen,
Amari.
or zenzen shimasen, whichever is more accurate for you.
Amari. Amari. Shimasen.
Itsu,
Amari. Yeah,
Shoshokan,
Amari.
and
Masen.
Iki's.
Amari shimasen.
Okay.
You could say, I mean, okay.
responses in the example here. Yes.
Oh, it's my turn. Okay. It's so
Did
hard.
you learn it?
Okay.
Did it say? You can say, isn't that say usually?
Taite usually, or tokidoki sometimes.
A long time ago?
You will go high. Somebody's tapping my screen. Hi. Okie dokie.
I just made the vocab parts like
Ichiji
Ni.
ni. Taite ichiji ni. Ikimasu.
Two
Okay,
vocab
that's what I'm actually.
ikimasu.
So the first one would be
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait. Or me.
Nihon ni
No, it can't. It can't be the,
Yeah.
because you're not doing anything in there. Yeah,
I don't think so.
you just go.
Okay.
Yeah, they go, oh, mimasen ka, that's like inviting somebody. See.
It's Bangohan wa tabemasu ka?
So they just say a little, and then
Yeah,
nothing else.
yeah, it's like saying too directly why you don't want to do it, it sounds too rude. So, mimasen ga tsutto is just sort of implies, you know, yeah, it's like that, yeah, so, and then, I hope you weren't here when I was explaining that culturally speaking, Japanese people don't like to say no even when they do know.
Yeah, and you tell the example of the businessman.
Right, so, in a situation like that, if you want to do something with a person, you just can't do the time or the activity that they're suggesting, you make another suggestion.
Hi.
That's the best way to make sure that you keep them as a friend. Because if you keep saying no over and over to every suggestion you make, eventually they're gonna get the message that you just don't want to be with them at all.
Because
When
I-
you're already
Sensitive people.
Yeah.
Kaya means
Hi,
because.
Kimasu.
Jesus' name.
Okay.
That's what
Yeah, okay, but we haven't studied
Yeah,
kata
yeah,
yet,
yeah,
so,
I'm jumping ahead.
yeah, yeah, it's probably better for the purposes of practicing for the test to not jump ahead right now.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, it's, yeah. Yeah. Try to stick to just what's gonna be on the OEI.
I'm trying to read my own handwriting. But I don't think I have it. I wrote it down. Just like the first day back.
To say, do you
Hi.
read newspaper in the morning? Is it asa shibu o yomimasu?
Hi.
Sushi, that's how I said.
I don't need any particles after it.
Yeah, after asa, you don't need a particle necessarily. Asa,
Zen Zen.
shibu no yomimasu ka?
And we like zen yomimasen.
Right, zenzen yomimasen would be I never read the paper, yeah.